Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live reaction, post-match reaction from the Bournemouth game. And bloody hell, that gave me a heart attack. Thankfully, I've Jack here with me to talk through it. And yeah, how you doing, Jack? You doing all right?
I'm doing great. I'm much better than I was 45 minutes ago, like all Spurs fans.
It's good to
That
hear.
was just a brutal watch. I almost considered not watching the game, but my son and I have a ritual, and we always watch together. I sync up our computers and watch together. So, and he gets upset when I don't. So,
Well, glad you did, because I don't have to sit here on my own and talk about it.
yeah. Well, that was actually he said at 2-0. He said, "Are you going to keep watching?" I was like, "I have to. I got to go to work after this." So.
So yeah, we're going to be talking through the game, and of course, get your comments in. We'll be trying to read those. But first of all, let's talk about the lineup. Okay,
Yep.
So I've got it here. What did you think when you saw the lineup, Jack?
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled at all. I was really, I wasn't thrilled with the 3-5-2. I thought this is a team that we should probably go 3-4-3, and I was really hoping to see Brian get a start. And of course, as soon as I saw the World Sanchez axis, again, if I weren't doing this YouTube, I would have considered like, all right, do I really want to watch? Because I know what I'm gonna see, and it's gonna give me stomach pains.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I saw Emerson playing Sanchez, no Dyer, I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not good. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, the midfield three, I was like, okay, I can definitely. I think I was glad to see because Rodrigo needed a rest, so I was fine with him not starting. And unlike last season, we actually can really rotate in the center of the pitch, and I'm perfectly comfortable with whoever comes in because I think none of them are obviously none of them are De Bruyne, but they're all quality and they're not going to kill you.
None of them are Harry Winks, right? They're all good players. Even Skipper, I thought he was one of the better midfielders in the first half. He kept getting out on that right-hand side, and he was the one more often getting in the attacking positions way more often than Emerson was, which is crazy.
It doesn't seem like his crossing was any better than Emerson's, but he was. But I would rather him in that position all day long.
Yeah. And even, he always shows a bit more intent of the midfield three to get forward, which that's not his bread and butter, is it?
Right.
But to see that intent says a lot. I wasn't happy with this. I don't think any Spurs fan was happy to see this lineup. I get we've got a big game soon, but in the week. But at the same time, we've dropped 6 points in the last two Premier League games. Can you afford to rotate this heavily? And I always bring it back now with Emerson to what I said to the bloke behind me in the pub after the Sporting game. How the hell is Emerson Royale a professional football player? And this guy from Barcelona just said, no idea, mate. So
yeah, although I can't verify this, but my son is a little bit of a savant when it comes to statistics that he can keep in his brain for football. He said there was a season or two that Emerson had the most goal involvements of any fullback in La Liga, and that's one of the reasons they paid 25 mil for him. I don't know that to be the case because I don't follow La Liga, but I don't know, and I don't know how that would be possible.
Off the top of my head, my guess would have been Jordi Alba, but
maybe so.
But anyway, first 11 wasn't great. First half, let's talk about the Bournemouth goals. First goal. What did you think about that? Was it a good goal by Bournemouth or weak defending?
Well, it comes from a classic where we're high up the pitch, which we want, and unfortunately there's a turnover and they get past us quickly. Longley decides to make the challenge high and try and win the ball, poke it away, which brings him pretty far out of position. Which again, I'm not a professional footballer. I'm not a manager, so I'm not sure what the instructions are there. I can see why he might try to win it, but that obviously starts creating the problem. And I think then it's compounded by the fact that I don't know what the instructions or what you're told to do on the training pitch, but Davies is one-on-one, right? And Sanchez comes over to try and provide cover as if Davies is going to get beat one-on-one, meanwhile leaving their striker all alone. So my feeling would be is at that position, you're 2-on-2 and you have a goalkeeper. You mark the striker. You don't come over and cheat to give that pass up. And I just think that's a. I just think that's. I hear you, HG. I think that for me was the problem. Is why is he giving cover to Davies? You just have to go 1-on-1 and hope you win the battle.
Surely you've got to trust that Davies can take the engagement 1-on-1, right? And because Sanchez comes across, it leaves Kiefer Moore, who is the Welsh, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
I'm Welsh. The Welsh Peter Crouch, and admittedly a good finish. Maybe Hugo should do better, but yeah, horrific from Sanchez. I think he should be marking Kiefer Moore, because even if Davies loses out, that is a much tougher shot to make because Davies is still in a position to block it, right? Whereas Kiefer Moore got in a position where he was, literally 1-on-1 with Hugo, and that's a free shot. So,
yep, yeah. Now I'm not going to fault. I mean, obviously you loved Lloris to come up with a world-class save, and he's capable of doing those, but I'm not going to blame him for that one.
No, I don't think that's fair. The second goal, across, Royal beat, weak defending, do you think?
Maybe, but I'm more along the lines of, okay, again, I don't follow Bournemouth that well, but who the hell is Adam Smith, and why can he put a ball on a dime when we've got no one, it seems, he could cross like that? I mean, that cross was spectacular. Yes, he's put it on the plate for a 6-4 forward, but those are Moore's second and third goal of the season, and he hadn't scored since the first week, right? So what the hell? Well, it seems like it's always when I'm watching Spurs that this sort of thing happens. But that was absolutely a great cross. But yeah, Sanchez gets beat on the header. It was a good cross, and yeah, Morel gets beat to the punch. But I don't know. I mean, he's just outmanned by a really big guy. So I'm not gonna criticize that much really on that second goal. It was a really good goal.
I mean, I've watched a fair amount of Kiefer Moore because he's played for Wales, and that's basically how he managed to take his career from League One to the Premier League, was his Wales career. He's a big guy and he's good in the box. He's done it at an international level. He did it at the Euros. I think it's against Switzerland. He's done that sort of thing. He can do that very, very well. But at the same time, I do wonder if you're Conte. I get Dyer needs a rest, but if you're looking at a team like Bournemouth where you think, okay, Kiefer Moore's going to play, or Dominic Solanke's going to play, or in this case, both, you look at that and think, well, maybe I shouldn't pair him with Longley and Sanchez. Because they're going to struggle against a striker of that physicality. Adam Smith, I mean, great name for one. But, how he can cross so well, and Matt Doherty and Emerson Royale seemingly couldn't hit a barn with a shotgun. I don't understand this.
Yeah, because it was a hell of a cross. I mean, that was
beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, that one was just, I'm not going to be too upset about. Those are what Premier League quality players can do. But again, I don't know who the hell Adam Smith is, and that may be the best cross of his entire life, and it wouldn't surprise me if it comes against Spurs.
Yeah, cross of his life. I think he's like 32 as well, so he's not even a youngster. He's getting on a bit. So there we go. Anyway, we'll stop talking about the first half because I think we can all collectively agree the first half was shambles.
But the one thing I want to say, I have your thoughts on though, is I mean, I'm noticing this certainly of late in the 3-5-2. And it may be somewhat just of players starting to get fatigued, but I see us in the last few games in that formation. The ball's going around. It's going around. It comes in. It comes back out. It goes around. It comes in. Comes back out. And I'm looking at I'm looking at Harry. I'm looking at Son. I'm looking at the front lines, and I'm just seeing they're shifting a little bit left, shifting a little bit right, shifting a little bit left. I'm not seeing any real movement, any real check in for the balls. It just looks very stale and easy to defend because I don't see a lot of movement. I don't see crosses, crossing runs. So that's not necessarily the fault of formation, but I see lately when we've been in that formation, it's really not a lot of movement around, which makes obviously someone sitting deep on their edge of their box it makes it pretty easy to defend.
I think if you're sitting in a low block like Bournemouth were, and you're playing a 3-5-2, because we have no innately creative players, what it means is Kane and Son try to push forward. Kane will drop in, and it kind of leaves Son on his own a little bit. And in that situation, you either need a really good creative midfielder to find the pass, or you need your fullbacks to be really good at crossing. Kind of like Liverpool in a sense, where every time you cross the ball, there's a danger of a goal. Because our fullbacks aren't brilliant at crossing, aside from the occasional Perisic cross, right? And because we have no true creative midfielder, Bentancur tries, Skip try. I mean, they all try, and they're not bad players, but they're not that kind of player. We do struggle to break these sorts of teams down, which is why we always try to play a bit more in transition. It's tricky. I think if you're going to play the 3-5-2, you need a creative midfielder in there alongside of a Suma and a Højbjerg, or a Bentancur and a Højbjerg, or a Højbjerg and a Skip. You need that player. I was almost hoping to see a 3-5-2 with Gil.
Yes.
Kane, because you think he'd be good in those little gaps here and there. Yes. I get he isn't naturally that kind of player, but you think he's got a good touch, he's got a bit of trickery. Maybe that's a position worth experimenting with, right?
I agree. I think Brian can definitely. I mean, again, he's a little slight, and that's a big team. So, but he could fill that role. The other thing, since we don't necessarily have that creative midfielder, one of the things I've heard many people comment, is that we've got a player who can break lines with the dribble. At least he did against us and a lot of other teams for Brighton. And I'm just not sure. I assume, like I think others, is that he's been told not to. Don't dribble through the center of the field. Don't go forward and then lose possession so that we're now outnumbered on our back line. But, I mean, in that sort of setup, if we don't have the creative midfielder, then we need to move quickly through the center of the pitch. And he needs to get past that first line with the ball at his feet. So then he can – now they're chasing a little bit, and now he can find the pass. And so one of the two has to happen.
I think the frustration for me in the first half, and even parts of the second half, was every time we got the ball, we were quite slow with it, weren't we?
Yes.
I think Basuma's trying to do things, but maybe in his defence a little bit. He hasn't played that many minutes this season, and he was playing a slightly different role for Brighton last season in a different kind of team. I mean, he is the only player that offers that kind of... I mean, maybe Bentancur does a bit as well.
Yes.
So those two are the main ones who will try and get the ball and dribble forward with it, but you don't want to have to rely on an individual player going on a solemn dribble through the midfield for all of your chances, right? Like, you want it to come naturally from how your team's set up.
But I thought Basuma had a good game. We didn't give them a lot of clear chances. They just happened to score both of them, And I thought Basuma was really good at patrolling in front of the back line, cleaning stuff up and distributing the ball. So I thought he had a good game. I just want to see him unleashed a little bit, take the handbrake off a little bit from whatever, I think that would be great, but obviously he's been told not to. I mean, that's Conte's job. That's his call.
Yeah, I think both of Moore's goals were classic, traditional striker goals. Sorry if you can hear that. Someone in my uni flat has decided to slam the door very loudly, so cheers for that. Anyway, we'll move on to the second half.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring up the stats compared to from the first half to the second half. So the left side is the first half, right side is the second half. We're in the red. Bournemouth are in the black. What do you think about this?
Well, I hadn't actually seen the differential, but it's exactly what I would have thought it to be. I mean, we did have a lot of corners, obviously, even in the first half. But in terms of we all know that the shots on goal were, even the ones that we had were not all that dangerous. We got lucky with the chance off the post, but it would have been an own goal. I sometimes feel like our form has dropped ever since own goal has dropped from the score sheet for us. But I mean, it's that first half tells me everything that I watched. We had the ball, we didn't do much with it.
Yeah, same. I thought it was one of those games where we have a lot of the ball, we're not doing a lot with it, we're playing very slow. It's almost like Man United under Louis van Gaal, however you say it.
Yeah.
But the second half, we had even more of the ball. But just look at that. It jumped from 5 attempts at goal to 18.
Yeah.
That's imperative, right?
Yeah. And what is the mentality going into the first half versus the second half of the last two games? I mean, is it that until we are completely behind the 8 ball and it's a desperate situation, can we get attention from a player? Can we get some mental acuity and some urgency that, oh my God, if we don't pull this out, our season's lost type of attitude, and we can't. I mean, again, we started the Newcastle game pretty well. We started and I'm talking like the first 10 minutes. right? Same thing with Sporting. I thought the first 10 minutes were pretty good. And then we just go into this lull for the next 30 or so minutes, giving up chances. And then, of course, in the second half, out of nowhere, it's people pressing, people driving the ball forward. The ball is moving a lot faster. The number of 4 and 5 one-touch pass combination in the second half, those were there in the first half. I don't know why it just is a mentality switch, and I don't know what gets said at halftime in the dressing room, but it's remarkable.
Like I said after the Sporting game, I don't know if Conte's giving our entire team injections of bloody speed and amphetamines at halftime or something, but we look like a different side. What mentality switch? It's almost like we start the game trying not to lose, which that's fine. If we're going to the Bernabeu or we're going to the Camp Nou, well, they'll be in the Europa League. If we're going or to the Etihad, I don't mind that. But against Bournemouth or even against Newcastle, I'm sorry. This person knows who they are. I'm sorry, Newcastle are an inferior team to us, and we shouldn't be going there with the aim of just not losing. And at home, I don't know what the mentality switch is. It's almost as if we need to be kicked down to want to get back up and fight, when really we should be coming out the doors wanting to fight in the first place. I mean, look at this. First half, 0 block shots. Second half, 6. We were putting them under siege in the second half. How do you think, Sessegnon played? Because he got the first goal for us.
Yeah, so let's start. So, yeah, I thought he had one of his better games. He did not have any glaring errors. He wasn't all that. I mean, he gets down the line. He still has a little trouble getting the ball into dangerous spots, clearly. But I mean, again, when your comparison is Emerson, you do look like a bit of a star out there. But he was playing well. The goal, however, looked like he's been doing that his whole career. I mean, the calmness in which he drags it down and goes to the line and puts it on his left foot and strikes ball. Yeah, he got a little deflection, but I think it's definitely on target of that side net anyway. But he was just nonchalant about it almost. It's like he does that every single game, and yet we've almost never seen it. And that's the reason I suspect, a lot of people are down on him for obvious reasons. I wonder if that's what he does in training, so he keeps getting the opportunity, and then it comes to the match day and we don't see it. But today, out of nowhere, he just beats the guy, had 2 guys coming on him, and he puts it on the side net. And I mean, if the system works when your wing backs do that. All they have to do is you just have to be dangerous going into the box. And that's what we don't have consistently.
Yeah, I did think Sessegnon a few times today did beat his man, and he was making those runs in behind, and he got rewarded for it with a goal, right? I thought he gave one of his better performances. He gave the kind of performance that if we had week in, week out from him, we'd be a lot better. I mean, the issue, of course, is Emerson Royale isn't giving us those performances, but that's a tangent for another day.
Yeah, but I mean, if we had someone just that good on the right, then the team looks completely different. And Kerry, I see Kerry's comment. Yeah, I heard that too. And the other thing, I don't know if you heard this on that goal. I swear, I thought the announcer in Vitali said that Sanchez gave the goal to Sanchez. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay. I the volume was down a little bit, but I swear I thought they heard him announce Sanchez's name. But I was curious. Yeah, I heard the call for getting the ball forward, but yeah, he did have a very solid game. I will admit.
Yeah, I know there are some Spurs fans who don't rate him, but again, every Fulham fan I've ever spoken to thinks he's got a lot to give and thinks he can make it at top level. If he plays like that consistently and he can add a bit more to his game, he definitely can. It's very much a make or break season for him, and if he can score crucial goals like that, which I think after the first goal, we looked a lot more driven. The fans got up and we were much more up for it. And I think if Sessegnon doesn't score that first goal, I don't think you see any of the improvements in our performance.
No.
Right?
I mean, he definitely changed the game with that. And that was an individual. It's just a simple pass to him. He took it down and made it happen. So, I mean, he gets credit for changing the game. And even when he went to the right, I was questioning why we didn't keep him on the left and put Perisic on the right. But he was good. And in fact, there was a cutback that he sent the ball on his left foot back into the box that was created. It was probably one of the best crosses of the game. that created a dangerous chance. So he was actually just as good on the right as he was on the left, which actually surprised me. I'm not a big fan of inverted wingbacks.
Well, you never know. If you're on Football Manager, you can whip out some weird tactics. Here's a question from my father here. What do you think of Longley in the central role?
I've actually been looking to see that. I was not worried. It was the Sanchez. It was a combination, like you mentioned, of who was on the back line, less so than just the fact that Longley's in the center. So if Romero's on his right, I feel obviously anyone should feel a lot better about that. But I wasn't too worried. I trust him with the ball at his feet. He offers something different from a distribution, obviously one being left-footed, and two, he didn't do much of it today, and that's just because obviously Bournemouth is sitting deep. But in a team that's pressing a little bit high, he actually has a very good long diagonal ball that can hit wingbacks. I've seen that a number of times. So I was perfectly comfortable with him. He does have a bit of a slight frame, but I don't feel like he's getting muscled off, and he's pretty decent in the air. So I didn't have a problem with that. I thought he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I didn't think he did anything egregious. He's not a big dominating centre-back, is he? He's very much an Ajax centre-back, if that makes sense. He's much better on the ball than he is at defending, right? I remember Toby Alderweireld, who played for Ajax as a youngster, saying he learned how to defend Atletico Madrid, right?
Right.
So
right.
I think Longley's more of the Ajax style centre back, but yeah, I don't think he was horrendous. I think it doesn't help if you have Davinson Sanchez to your right, and don't get me started on Davinson Sanchez. You'll hear a Tungi and Ndombele style rant.
No, we're not going to go there.
We'll move on. So,
I was fine with him. I don't have a problem. I don't think he's a solution for us. But I mean, considering we couldn't get who we wanted in the summer at left center back, then I think it's fine. And by the way, I want to go back to Gibbo. I want to go back to your comment. You better not be pissed you're in Greece. I don't want to hear that. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'd switch places with you, Gibbo. Promise.
I'd switch places with him. The weather here is bloody dreadful.
Of course it is.
It's raining, so there you go.
Big surprise.
Yeah, and I have to go out later in this. Like, fuck me. Matt, mate. If you've got any room in Greece, let me know, and I'll book a flight and we can hang out and talk about Spurs. We can do a live from Greece special. I can book a flight from tomorrow.
The thing about I guess Conte felt comfortable enough with Longley as well to bring when he brought Dyer in. He puts it right center back, and because Dyer definitely needed to rest, and that's one of the reasons why. Either mentally or physically or both, he needed to rest. Clearly, his last few performances were pretty rough, and so I think it was good for him to watch the game a little bit and not have the pressure on him. And when he came in, he was certainly very dynamic, and particularly that 1-2 down the right side late in the game that he crossed it back to Son that forced a really good save. I mean, he has that in him. I mean, we've seen that for years. He has that ability, and when you play him in the center of the pitch, he can't make that run. So. I mean, as I said, I think I'm okay with Longley playing the center because it gives you because if you think about it, that means you could actually have Davinson Sanchez as your third right center back option if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. So we equalised with, of all people, Ben Davies, the Welsh Maldini. It was a brilliant cross in Paris.
2 Welsh goals. How often does that happen, right?
It was 3 Welsh goals today. Because Moore scored twice.
Oh, yeah, right, of course. Yeah, sorry, 2 goal scorers, right. Yeah. That'll be his last brace in the Premier League, I have no doubt, by the way.
It's fine. He can save the goals for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was just a well-taken header. I mean, and that goalkeeper as their backup he was very, very he was dodgy on those corners. And, if you put it on his hands, he didn't look confident coming out for it.
Well, their goalkeeper was the same guy who let in 9 against Liverpool. Then got subbed out, and he's only come back in because their first choice has been injured. So I always kind of thought if you test him, surely he's going to be a little bit nervy.
Yeah. I mean, he had some good saves in the game, but yes, but on the balls into the 6 on the corners, he didn't look confident. And that was, if we got a break, it was definitely having their backup goalkeeper who last gave 9. There's no question about that.
Yeah, it was a well taken header. And then we go into the final sort of 10 minutes, chasing the game. I think that was probably the spell of the game where I thought we were at our best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah.
We had a few chances. Son had a free kick where he hit the wall. Which I just why can he score them for Korea, but he can't score them for us? I don't.
It's something about having a Spurs shirt on is all I can figure.
Yeah, we've got to do things the hard way. I don't know. I mean, it ended well with that Ben score goal.
Yeah, and I think if I had to give a man of the match, I mean, obviously, I don't know that anyone was spectacular. No one was terrible. I mean, even for Royale, I mean, for what you're going to get, he didn't kill you, didn't do anything. I mean, he wasn't horrific. He just was who he is, right? He's played out of position and he gives effort, but he doesn't have the ability. We all know that. But I mean, if you're going to give the man of the match to anyone, I think it's got to be Bentancur because he absolutely just took the game by the scruff of the neck, as they say, and really drove the team forward. And I think it energized Pierre because he really started carrying the ball with intent going forward towards the end. So and the calm, that he showed in the box. I guess knowing that he had a little bit of space, found his spot. And just passed it, kind of side volley into the net was very, very self-assured. And he is a calm, he doesn't get flustered, and that was a well taken goal. And I was still waiting. And again, my son's screaming on the phone with me, and I'm still waiting. I'm looking for, okay, where is the goal going to come? How is this coming off the board? That's all I could think of. I couldn't celebrate the goal because I was looking for, okay, what was that deflection? Did that hit an arm of a Spurs player? What was it? That's all I could think about.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
That fucking sucks, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. After the goal against Sporting, which was wrongly disallowed, don't care, end of. I went mad when that goal went in. And since that being disallowed, when Bentancur scored today, I celebrated a bit, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, is this going to be disallowed for something?
Yeah, I saw the deflection. I just didn't, my eyesight isn't, I didn't have my contacts in. My eyesight isn't good enough to pick up who it went off of. And I was, so I was just assuming it went off a Spurs hand or arm or something.
You never know. It might just be a very delayed VAR review, John.
Yeah, I mean, it was how long? I mean, you could have the guy from the Athletic game, on the VAR. Who knows? I mean, I guess if they've left the stadium, I think we're safe.
I don't think they can. Yeah, maybe just about. You never know with Spurs, do you, TJ? So, but yeah.
The other thing, what I like about the fact that Conte, I was a little frustrated with just one change at half, but he changed it early again. And I think he was going to do more changes. Clearly, I'm not sure if Sessegnon was going to come out. That would be our question. Was he going to come out until he scored? Yeah. And you definitely don't want to take a guy out who just scored. Clearly, that anyone knows you keep them on the pitch. So I'm curious what was going to happen, but I'm like the fact that he made changes early. And the switch to the 3-4-3 was also critical because that's the formation I wanted against Bournemouth. I didn't want to see the 3-5-2. I want to see 3-4-3 from the off. And clearly we were more effective. With that.
I don't know if he wasn't sure if Lucas could manage 90. Maybe he thought he could only manage 45. Yeah. So, he hasn't been long back from injury. He hasn't built up a lot of match fitness. That kind of makes sense. Yeah, but
especially because he just played over the weekend. It started the weekend game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fair play to Conte. He made a change at half time. I thought Lucas had positive moments. He was at least running with the ball. That was good. Yeah. And he didn't dick about with his changes. He made a lot of changes. He wasn't waiting to the 89th minute before making changes. He was a lot more decisive in this game, which I think is a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out for Brian because every time he comes on, he looks to make something happen. He doesn't cut it back and pass it back to the midfielder or the wing back or the center back, whatever. He gets the ball and goes forward. He looks to find space. He looks to take on a defender. That cost him a little bit late because he should have gone in the 90th or so. He should have gone to the corner. Yet he cuts in and tries to go towards goal and loses possession. And now they have numbers going the other way. That's going to cost you minutes with Conte. You can't make that mistake. And as soon as Harry got the ball, he went straight to the corner. And that other than that one mental mistake, I think even he in his few moments that he got shows that he's one of the few players who changes it up for this team, for this squad. He clearly does. And I just hope that he gets minutes, and I'm encouraged by the Bernardo comparison.
I'd go a step further. I'd make comparisons to Johan Cruyff. I mean, he's got the right hair, hasn't he? So
that's true. Hey, did you see the was it a Cruyff cut that Sanchez pulled in the first half? Did you see that? He almost lost the pressure and then chopped it back or something.
I remember when I played Sunday League doing a Cruyff turn in the game once.
Yeah, well, at 52, I will not be doing, after coming off a knee surgery, I will not be doing a Cruyff turn in my match this afternoon, I assure you.
You're not going to be pulling any Cruyff turns off later?
No, I just hope not to get hurt. That's the main goal, is that I walk off the pitch. None of my own power. So yeah, I think here we got a response from Tottenham, right? The first half was dreadful for whatever reasons. I think formation was a bit of it. I think you're saying the point of not playing not to lose is true. They're a little nervous. They know they need the points. So let's not make any mistakes, but that leads to the ball not moving quickly, not taking chances, and just kind of that overall slow pace. But unlike last year where they got a goal up and then just controlled the game, this year they seem to be waiting to go down a goal so that they can then be unleashed a little bit.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I hear you, John. I always do.
There you go.
So, yeah, no, I think that, again, for me, Rodrigo was the game changer, should probably be man of the match. I don't know who got it. I don't know where those awards are going. I'm still frustrated with the number of times that even Rodrigo passed the ball out of bounds. We seemingly still have a problem with guys not under pressure, missing passes by 3 to 5 yards, right? And I guess you can't explain why that seems to continually happen. But yeah, I think he was immense, no question about it. And did you see the Conte reaction on Rodrigo's goal?
Yeah.
I guess he was waiting for the VAR check too. I mean, that's the only thing.
Well, it's funny because after the Kane goal, which let's be honest, was a goal, went in against Sporting, he went mental, right?
Yes, he did.
As did I in the pub, right? I stood up, I knocked over my pint, I started screaming, I grabbed my rugby-loving friend and started screaming, vulgar terminology at everyone in the pub. So I apologize to everyone in my local pub for that, but you get it. But after that, VAR check, again, even I was a bit like, oh, hang on, how's this going to be disallowed for something dodgy, right? Something questionable. Maybe Conte's just... But at the end of the day, the Champions League's one thing. This team lost 9-0 this season.
Right.
We shouldn't be 2-0 down to them. I mean, the mentality of coming back and getting a result is big. Sometimes we've been in a bit of a rut of form, right? Let's be honest. Sometimes a comeback is what you need. Mentally, the knowledge to know, look, we can be down and not be out, right?
And they've done it basically legitimately 2 games in a row, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, and and the mentality to take that on the chin last week and then come out and go down again to a team that we all know is not as good, player by player is not as good at all, and then yet come back into the game and get the result, I think is you're right, can be the sign. Because I was really at 2-0, I was starting to look at the fixture list and go, man, we might not get another point from anything the last 3. What are there, 3 left now, right? The 2 league games and the Champions League game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at 2-0, I was texting my dad, John, if you didn't know. John of the Cheese Room is my father. That's a horrendous photo of me next to him when I was like 16, but there we are. I was texting him saying, fuck's sake, why did you have to bloody support Spurs? Why did you have to put me through this? You couldn't have supported someone else, could you? I mean,
and what does he say? What is his excuse? Did he blame the previous generation? What the hell?
No, so his dad, my grandfather, isn't really into football, but he watches Swansea because Welsh heritage. That's
Right.
where I get the Welshness from.
Mhm.
But no, he grew up in Enfield, nearish London.
Yeah.
Not nearest London, in London, nearish Tottenham. That was the
Right.
nearest club to him. So that's his excuse. I have no excuse for supporting Spurs other than my dad. Now, my mum's father supports Chelsea. So I would have had a perfectly valid excuse to support them, but no, I decided to be a Spurs fan and suffer through all of this. So I don't even have an excuse. I chose this, unfortunately. Yeah.
I essentially did too. I'm in the same camp. I mean, basically, my son chose Tottenham, and he started watching them online many 12 years ago or so, and I started watching a little bit, and then I saw, okay, we've got a club that's given Americans a run, and I was, for me, Friedel was someone I watched as a kid, and I mean, as in my 20s when he was playing in his prime in the U.S. national team, and then of course you get other Americans coming through, particularly Dempsey. So it was real easy for me to get passionate about Tottenham because you learn the history of the club, and I don't support any big teams. Never have. If you look at all the sports that I follow, they're not the dominant. I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm not a Cowboys. I mean, I just, so it lined up well for me. So yes, but I chose this pain, unfortunately, but not today.
Not today. No, he just had a minor heart attack. I mean, to quote, because I watch esports because I'm from the young and hip generation, right? One of the someone I know actually in esports, when his team won in like 2018 because they'd been 2-0 down and won 3-2. To quote him, and this is basically how I felt: "Fuck me, boys! You gave me a fucking heart attack there." What does that describe anything more than Spurs today?
Yeah. Well, I think that we can take this as a great victory. I think the takeaways for me is that I wasn't thrilled with the lineup. They got down. The Conte makes critical changes, and players stepped up. Sessegnon definitely, I think, clearly changed the game, and they didn't stop. I mean, they didn't sit back and say, okay, we got the draw. It's not what we wanted, but we at least we're not going to walk out of here with nothing. But they didn't. They kept pushing until all the way, as they did against Sporting. To the 95th. Essentially the same type of time frame that I think. So I think that it's definitely and I haven't looked at all the results. I know Chelsea lost. What were the other?
City beat Leicester 1-0. Brentford drew with
Wolves.
Palace beat Southampton 1-0. Newcastle beat Villa 4-0, which is a shame because I wanted to make fun of Geordie girl. And Fulham are currently drawing 0-0 with Everton, but it's been 13 minutes. So
I mean, these are just that's a huge result. I heard the Brighton fans were singing to Potter, "You're going to be sacked in the morning." Oh
dear. Well, it's good Chelsea drop points, but
what do you think? What do you think about what's your thought on? Do you think Forest can get anything at the Emirates, or is that going to be a bloodbath?
I don't know. They play some all right stuff, but they don't seem to get many points. Maybe they can. I mean, Arsenal have weaknesses. I don't think they're the second coming of Ajax in 1970.
No,
they have weaknesses. I mean, they should have lost to Leeds. Let's be honest. Had Leeds been more, had Patrick Bamford not cooked up a penalty, trust the Chelsea youth academy player to cook up against Arsenal. They should have won that game. Forest have the ability. They have the players on the pitch to get something there.
They've obviously last 4 games. They played exceptionally much better, and they've tightened up the back. So I'm hoping, not optimistic for a draw, but and obviously United West Ham game tomorrow. If we can get a draw out of that, that'd be fantastic, and that would make for a very successful weekend. And going into the game Tuesday, that'd be fantastic.
A Serge Aurier moment, shall we refer to it as, would not surprise me in that game. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, if Cooper knows what he's doing, he's not gonna start Serge. He'll keep him far away from Arsenal.
I mean, the only benefit might be he might injure someone, so
That's true.
might end up as a net benefit for us.
Yeah, I hear you. That's true.
But yeah, Forest have a chance, as does any team, but I hope they scrap something against Arsenal. I don't care if it takes the most corrupt officiating decision in the history of football to get a result, but Arsenal aren't all that. We crumbled against them.
Yes.
But, we always do away at the Emirates, and I'm sure we'll probably beat them at home, as we usually do. So,
no doubt.
I mean, I remember one of the matches when I was younger, I used to rewatch a lot, was us beating them 5-1 in the League Cup. And we were playing with Malbronk and Jermaine Genus. So,
well, I think we're in good shape. I mean, I think this game, let's just assume that this match is the one that, shakes off the whatever we've been going through, and that we probably, and we should, I hope that if Conte is going to give trust to people like Brian and start spreading the minutes out, and dear Lord, maybe even at getting to work with both Brian and Spence over the World Cup break, intensive, get that time to really, really spend time with them and focus, that maybe he'll have the confidence for when we come back after Christmas, that you see those players involved a lot more, because they're going to have to play. If we're going to stay in the domestic cups, they're going to have to play, and they're going to have to perform, and they need to be available, because Emerson is not the solution at all, as we know. And is Matthew going to come back to where he was before he got hurt? I don't know. So I'm really hoping that what we saw, those changes, and even Lucas at wing back, not to start, but to change things up. To bring up Brian in, I think, is something that we need, even though I'm not a huge Lucas fan. I'd rather him when we're chasing a goal than still having Emerson on the pitch, for crying out loud. So it works for me. So I'm hoping. I've got hope again. The dreaded triangle of being a Spurs fan. I'm at the point of the pinnacle of I believe again. So
5-1. I'm just going to ask my dad here. What was the game you said you broke that sofa watching? Because I remember you saying you managed to break a sofa watching a Spurs game because you were jumping so loud. Is that a false memory of me when I was a kid? Can't recall. I will just ask, Jack, do you need to shoot off in a minute? If you do, that's okay.
Yeah, I need to. I've got a few more minutes.
Okie dokie. I was just going to sit here and answer comments anyway. So if you need to shoot off, just let me know, and it's all good. No worries.
I do want to remind everyone. I don't know how many we got watching. I hope everyone remembers, smash that like button.
Yeah, hit the like button. We have a Patreon, and you get to interact with me and everyone else who's more older and more intelligent. Remember, I am the youngster. I'm still technically a teenager. Next 3 months.
Newsroom Patreon group the group chat is the best feature. Connecting with people who are not. I love, because I can't go on Twitter. There are too many. There's just insanity on Twitter. So it's great to have intelligent Spurs fans on a group chat that's worth your time, as opposed to the nonsense in social media.
It's £3 plus tax a month. You get to support the show. If you like the show, we'd really appreciate it. No obligation, obviously. We just appreciate you watching. And you can come on these shows with us. Yeah, and sometimes we're lacking people. I'm here occasionally. I'm not always here because, university lifestyle, and everyone else has children and wives and things, which sounds terrifying, but there you are. And never know, you might get to come on the show and give your thoughts. But yeah, it's not that much. It's I'm a university student, and I've got the money for it. And you get a T-shirt, you get a mug, you get merchandise. You get paid back after, I think, a year. Also, you get a T-shirt. I can't remember how long it is. I think I'm due a T-shirt at some point, but I didn't. It's not promised, but there's lots of benefits. You get to join the group chat on Slack, and get to come on the show. And if people like you, you might get invited to the elite center circle, where you get to argue with me, Caller, John, and HG. And I'm really hoping that I might get that invite one day. I'm hoping. We'll just see. Well, I'll have a word with Caller for you. Don't worry. I'll have a word with Caller.
All right. Well, like I said, I got a match to run off to myself,
All
so
right.
I'm gonna hopefully hope to play like Sessignon today on the left
All
side.
right.
We'll see.
Beautiful. All right.
All right.
Thank you for coming on. It's been lovely
man.
to have you on. Glad for the chat.
It's good to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well. Come on, you Spurs.
Yep. We'll see you.
Bye-bye. All right. Just going to reply to a couple comments here. Yeah. I don't remember that because I was 4, I think. Pragmatic football does not suit us in Levy. Totally backs him in the next transfer windows. What would you like? What players would you like to see come in, Darren? Is my question to you in this regard. Madison type player. What positions and what players would you like to see come in? What would you define as being totally backed? Okay, good. It wasn't a complete false memory. 4-4 and then equalised. Was that Arsenal at the Emirates where we drew 4-4? Where was it Modric who scored that 35-yard goal? Again, I was young, so this is my memory of watching the match back on YouTube. Of course you're liked Kerry. I mean, you're not the best Kerry King, but that's a reference no one will get. Bentley. Yes. Yeah, it was the 4-4 at the Emirates, right? Yeah. I couldn't remember who it was. Bloody blimey, David Bentley. Where did he go? Yeah. Was it the Emirates? Yeah. I thought so. It was that 4-4 draw. It was Harry Redknapp's first North London derby, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. That's vaguely what I remember. Again, by remember, I mean I watched the game on YouTube, right? But as it's just me, if you have any opinions on the game today or Spurs opinions, feel free to comment and I'll read them and give my thoughts and put them up for discussion, as it were, for the next 10 minutes or so, because I haven't got anything to do for the next 10 minutes, so feel free. We don't get this very often, so I'll just do it for now. Yeah, Kerry, now or whenever. I mean, just putting it out to anyone, just out on my own. I will say, this wine I purchased today, you can't see it, it's a Bordeaux wine. Very lovely, I have to say. It was only $7.50. It's quite nice, and I'm a bit of a wine snob. Yeah. Anyone fancy dropping in? There's the link. Click that. You'll pop in the show. I'll add you, and we can have a chat for the next 15, 20 minutes, however long. If no one joins, it'll only be the next 10 minutes. But if you feel like joining, if you've got a mic and a webcam, feel free to come on, give your thoughts on the game today or the season in general. But while we're waiting, if anyone's interested in wine or whiskey, I'll give my thoughts. Yeah. Just turn off YouTube sound so there's no echo, of course, please. Thank you. Anyway, this is a lovely wine. I got it at the Co-op for, I think, $7.50. It's quite a light red, very fruity. I quite enjoy it. At some point, I'm going to try to convince Steve to come on the show and do a wine tasting with me. So if you want to see that, of course, subscribe. But, of course, me and Stevie, both wine connoisseurs. All right, well, glad to hear that, Kerry. But, if you feel like coming on for 5 minutes, talk about the game, feel free to, or anyone else. Dead man's fingers. I'm not a big rum person, personally. I'm more a whiskey person. I'll actually grab out off my shelf, my nice bottle. So there's a bottle of Johnny Walker's XR, which again, because I have a face cam light, you can't really see. But it's actually older than me. I've drank most of it, as you can see, but this is a lovely whiskey. If you ever see a bottle for a reasonable price, I'd pick up a bottle of this if you enjoy whiskey, or Scotch rather. But it is really nice. That and Johnny Walker's Black Label. It's very nice, I have to say. Thank you. I have no idea who Maverick is, but I appreciate it. I I think aviators very much suit me. So I appreciate that from you, Daniel. Appreciate the kind words. Daniel has replied, for us to be totally backed is for Levy, not looking for cheap alternatives, a long layer of Brian Gill. We need a creative midfielder and a top-class left centre-back. I agree. The thing with Longley, of course, was we couldn't get Bastoni, who was our top target. So we went for Longley on loan because he was available. And I don't think he's been bad for us, right? I think he's done all right. Brian Hill was a long-term prospect signing, which I don't think really you can take an issue with. All big clubs do that. And, we did sign Richarlison, right? I agree we need a creative midfielder. I agree we need another centre-back. My argument would be we need a proper right centre-back, so Davinson Sanchez doesn't have to play, right? Because I think Davies and Longley are perfectly fine. They're perfectly serviceable. My argument would be, aside from a top-class creative midfielder, I think we need a top-class right wing-back, unless Jed Spencer's going to start getting minutes. But even if he does, I think we need someone better than Emerson Royale and Matt Doherty, right? So, who would you give man of the match to, everyone? I think probably Bentancur, right? He changed the complexity of the game, and he scored the winner. So who else can you give it to? And he only came on in the second half, which is even more impressive when you think about that. And John agrees. So, like father, like son. Yeah. Any other takes in regards to man of the match today? Let us know. Or let me know, rather. And I'll put it in the comments again. The link to join is there. StreamYard. If you feel like chatting with me for the next however long, feel free to join and we can have a little chat. No worries. This is an interesting question. If anyone watches our under 21 games or under 18s games as well, again, let me know. Happy to know. I don't really watch many of those games, but perfectly valid question. Let us know. Maybe there's some bright gems in there. I haven't bought the new Football Manager, so I'm not sure who from our under 21s is a wonder kid yet. But interesting question. Yeah, I think Conte is aware of those who need resting. I think Dyer and Bentancur probably did need a rest today. It's a shame they had to come on, but I'm glad they did. Our back line looked a lot more settled once Dyer came on, to be fair. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Divine, yeah. Yeah, I think Divine needs a chance at some point. He looks like an obvious talent from the clips I've seen from him. Of course, it's only clips, but there's a player in there, Darren, not pleased with Kane's performance today. I thought Kane was all right. He tried to hold the ball up. He tried to create space for people. It's difficult against a team like Bournemouth who are going to sit deep against you, It's really not easy. Not a vintage Harry Kane performance, but wasn't a vintage Spurs performance, was it? And sometimes in games like that, you've just got to try and hold the ball up and create space, Yeah. For Devine. I reckon if you give him a few years, if he gets the proper training and even minutes in the first team or alone, he could be a proper player for us, Kiss on need resting. There's no choice now. Decky and Richie out. Yeah, that's the issue, right? Because we essentially have 5 players out of 3, really. Because Lucas is fine, but he's not top quality, is he? He's not consistent enough. You want Kulusevski or you want Richarlison playing. And it's unfortunate both of them are out. I mean, if City lost, De Bruyne and, Gundogan or De Bruyne and Foden, or let's say, even Haaland and Mahrez, they'd struggle, right? Any top team's going to struggle if they lose 2 of those players. I mean, if Arsenal lost Jesus and Martinelli, they would be really, really struggling right now. So, it's unfortunate we lost 2 players in the same position. But yes, again, Kane, Conte did say he was going to give Kane a rest at some point. hopefully, so Richarlison could start up front or something. But with both of them out, it's really difficult because we don't have that many options unless you want to see a front line of a front two of Lucas and Gill. No one wants. No, I don't think anyone wants to see that, do they? Maybe if we draw some non-league team in the FA Cup, but even then, So, it's bad timing. Daniel's asked 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. 3-5-2 has benefits in the sense you get an extra midfielder. I think if we were going to play 3-5-2 predominantly, you need an additional creative player. You need that Perlo type player. You need that Ericsson type player. Or you need that Madison type player. If we go in January and just say, fuck it, we're going to sign Madison, 60 million, whatever. That's our one signing for this window. It's the only signing we're going to do, but we're going to get him. I think you can reasonably go with 3-5-2. The benefit, of course, of 3-4-3 is you have two wide players who can cut inside half spaces, so the wing-backs have more room. 3-5-2 places a lot more emphasis on the wing-backs to create opportunities, but you have an extra man in midfield, so you're more defensively solid because, of course, your more defensive midfielder of the three can drop into spaces to cover room. You have a midfielder who's a box-to-box type player, and you can have a dedicated creative midfielder. But with our current squad setup, I think maybe 3-4-3 because 3-5-2 hasn't worked. But again, I don't know what we're going to do in January. If we go get a creative midfielder, I'd say maybe 3-5-2. It's good we have the option to play both, but we do really need a more creative option. But I would take a right wing back or a more creative option. Kane does so many decent balls through. Just if he doesn't score, people think he's rubbish. Yeah, exactly. He is probably the second best playmaker in the league after Kevin De Bruyne, and he's a better goal scorer than Kevin De Bruyne. He's an exceptional creative player. I think when he starts to get on in age, like we're talking 33, 34, you have to forgive my 19-year-old self for referring to that as getting on in age. But as a football player, it wouldn't surprise me if he came into the sort of Rooney role, if that makes sense, behind the striker. And he was just sat there pinging passes for players in front of him. Here's one game. Kane was ill, so he's placed poorly today. It's no surprise he wasn't at it. Didn't know that. Maybe that's so. I don't think Kane was dreadful necessarily. It just kind of looked like a difficult game for him. Is Romero injured? I think Romero is injured, right? Because I don't think he would be completely absent from the squad. Because Dyer was rested, right? But he was on the bench. He must be injured. That's troubling for us. He does have a bit of an injury record, but it's difficult. Hopefully, it's not too severe. Hopefully, he isn't out long term. Was Basuma in an advanced role today? I think Skip was, right? Like, Skip was the guy getting in those aggressive far right areas, right? If you look at his heat map from the first half, which they showed on the broadcast, he was getting in the kind of areas I'd expect a wing back to get to, right? It's the areas you want Emerson in. You don't want Emerson in, but you want your right wing back in. He was getting in very aggressive areas. I think Skip was probably the most aggressive of our midfield three in the first half, which is weird because I question why Conte took him off because I thought he was very good in the first half. Basuma does try to dribble with the ball forward, but I don't think he never gets in those super far forward areas, right? I think it's predominantly Skip when he plays who does, when he plays that 3-5-2 formation. So... feel free to send any further questions, and I will do my best to answer them. We can spark a discussion. Passes haven't been that great, and his energy levels look poor, which is understandable because he's played every game. Yeah, Kane definitely needs a rest at some point. He has been, he's played a lot of football, right? He plays most games for England. He plays every game for Spurs. It's understandable he's struggling, right? I don't think that's an unreasonable, thing for him to feel. And, he does do a lot. He's trying to be a poacher while being a creative midfielder, right? That's not unreasonable. Kerry asks, Kerry King, unfortunately not the Kerry King of Slayer, asks, how do you think we'll get on in Marseille? I was dreading the game today, but based on the character we showed in the performance, hopefully we can get a result. I think we have the ability. Hopefully we can go and get a result. Who would you like to bring in January, James? Madison, I think. I would rather we took the approach of saying, look, we're going to solve one position in January, hopefully, and we're going to solve one in the next summer window. Just go and definitely solve one position. Say, look, we're going to throw all our money for this window at one player who we're 99% sure is going to solve it. Like Liverpool did with Van Dijk, right? I'd rather we just went and tried to solve one position. Madison. Other than that, a right wing back. I prefer, instead of going, we're going to sign this budget option in 3 different positions at once to try to solve all 3 positions, I'd rather we just went and solved one position definitely. So a Madison type player. Because it's unreasonable to expect, multiple world-class players to come in. Because if Madison can come and have the Bruno effects like he did for United, then yeah, we're pushing for stuff. Because if you have that little spark, maybe that can rejuvenate the quality we know we have in Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Bentancur, etc. How brilliant is it that Brighton's first win since Bournemouth was a thrashing at Chelsea? Yeah, exactly. Chelsea, small club. Glad they lost. It's poetic even that Graham Potter couldn't beat Brighton. Yeah. Glad you appreciate the joke. Should be easy to get around. You'd think if you offered him the chance of playing in the Champions League, or even if we cock it up in Marseille, the Europa League, right, under Antonio Conte, he bites for that opportunity, right? And, if you put the money forth, I'm sure he'd go. I'm just saying, I don't think it's beyond our means to go get him. I think, especially if we progress in the Champions League, the prize money you get from that is near on 10 million, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. The revenue from that, and if you're Daniel Levy, you're thinking, if I sign this guy, we are probably 100% going to finish top 4. The revenue from just getting into Champions League next season far outweighs the negatives. And he has huge resale value anyway, so it doesn't work out as resale value. From a business and a football perspective, it's a very sound investment. Do you see us getting top 4 with Man U getting better? My big worry is Newcastle. Newcastle are better than Man United. I do see us getting top 4, yes, because I think the top 4 is probably going to be City, us, Arsenal, then Newcastle. Unless Haaland gets abducted by aliens or breaks his leg. Arsenal are going to get an injury and they're going to fall off because they have no squad depth. If Martinelli or Jesus gets injured, they're struggling, right? They got lucky against Leeds. They're going to struggle, right? United are getting better, but they're going to have a lot of European games which are a struggle for them. I think it's easy in the group stages, but as soon as they go late into the Europa League, they're going to struggle. Maybe they sneak into 4th ahead of Newcastle. Chelsea don't look very good at the moment. Their underlying stats haven't improved that much since Potter came in. They've had some better results, but I don't think their underlying numbers have improved that much. Pardon me. Guild start on Wednesday? Probably not. I mean, I'd like him to, but I don't think he will. Moura played 45 minutes today, so I imagine it'll probably be Moura who starts on Wednesday. Dyer will definitely start. Bentancur will definitely start. The only good thing is, the players who came on the second half only played maximum 45 minutes. Well, Bentancur only played 30, right? So at least some of the players are going to be fairly, fresh, at least. But yeah, it's crucial. It's crucial. Is the game on Wednesday? I thought it was on Tuesday. I'm going to look this up. 2 seconds. Yeah, it's on Tuesday. Yeah, the Marseille game's on Tuesday. Then we play Liverpool on Sunday. Yeah, I thought it was on Tuesday. I'd like Gil to play, but I think the Marseille game is so crucial. I understand why Conte is going to prefer the more experienced player in Lucas. Yeah. Anyway, on that note from Carrie, Just gonna say, we'd appreciate it, and I'd appreciate it, especially if you could like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I assure you most of the panel is more competent than me, and all I'm going to say is come on, Spurs.